So I actually saw raindrops today. Anybody else? Yeah. Just a little bit to like see them, but not really do anything. Yeah. Not enough to really run your windshield wiper. So
Uh, well, not to brag, but it rained all day today in Breckenridge,
oh,
Colorado. Um,
no
Ah,
snow.
and it was cold.
mm,
Mm,
define cold.
It's 40s.
That's
mm.
cold
Yeah.
for here. That's
Upper
cold.
40s. Yeah. Yeah.
I see why you're wearing
Although,
this hoodie.
Sweatshirt. Yeah.
yeah, I had to drive into Denver today, and it was like 80 something. Drop off kids at the airport. All right. Looks like it's 6:45 Central Time. Everybody knows what that means. It is time for Hillcrest Toastmasters to get up and going. I'm going to call this meeting to order. In giving a speech, there's three kinds of speeches. There's the speech that you plan to give. There's the speech that you give. And then there's the speech that you wish you had given. And so tonight, I hope everyone gives the speech they had wished they had given. And so we'll move on to our Pledge of Allegiance. If someone has a flag, please. There we go. Thank you, Amy. I pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I will apologize in advance for not removing my hat, which I realized about halfway through the Declaration of Independence. It's pretty cool that I even remembered it. I don't know the Declaration, the Pledge of Allegiance. And so with that, I will introduce our what would you call it? Our presiding officer for tonight. That is one David Richmond. David, kick us off. After you unmute. There you go.
Tonight, that is one David Richmond. David?
Yes, I've got a conflict between two devices on my computer, and I'm getting a terrible reverb.
You unmute. There you go. That is one David Richmond.
I know. I'm trying to figure out.
I've got a conflict.
I'm trying to figure out what to shut down so that I'll stop hearing myself in
terrible
echo.
reverb. I know. I'm trying to figure out what to shut down so that I stop hearing myself in echo.
Would you like me to introduce Jen?
I may need you to while I try to nail this down. I'm sorry.
Jen, I don't suppose you sent David an intro. If not, okay, well, don't worry about it. Jen Colaco is a longtime member of Hillcrest Toastmasters. We are thrilled that she is going to be serving as our Toastmaster. Someone told me, and I don't know if it's true, Jen, you can confirm, deny, or choose to just remain silent. You are training for a marathon or what do you call it? Triathlon.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty
Yes.
awesome.
Yes.
And so tonight our topic is different perspectives, and we can't wait to hear what Jen has to say about that. So Jen, tell us about different perspectives, and I want to hear a little bit more about triathlons. It's all yours.
All right. Thank you, Daniel. And hello, fellow Toastmasters and our welcome guests. I chose the topic of different perspectives as our theme tonight because if nothing else, really, guys, this whole year, as we come into a new political season, because it is an election year, I thought we could use a friendly reminder that having different perspectives is not necessarily a bad thing. And in fact, listening and truly listening where someone else is coming from can help us get a better understanding of why someone thinks and feels the way they do. I think we've all felt that there has been some massive tension in the world in general. People seem very angry. Drive around Dallas and it just shows itself left and right. There seems to be a lot of things that people feel they can say. Seems that there's a lot of disrespect. People seem in general unhappy. And when I'm talking about different perspectives, and when I talk tonight, I'm really talking about not like internet trolls. We're never going to change the minds of people that we don't know over the internet. But what I think we can do is do a really good job of learning to understand the people around us and trying to understand where people are coming from within our inner circles, within our work realms, within our families. We all have very different perspectives. And I think it would be very interesting for us to hear where we're all coming from versus just assuming that you understand. Now, before we go any further, I would like to introduce our programs team. So tonight, our Wordmaster Grammarian is Donovan Miller. Donovan, will you tell us about your role this evening?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, our guests. As the Wordmaster Grammarian, I have two roles. The first is to choose the word of the day. I have chosen the word appeal. It can be used as a verb or a noun. It can mean to make an urgent request, to be attractive or interesting, or even an application for a decision to be reversed. It can be used in the following sentence. She made an appeal for her sister to consider her point of view. As the grammarian, I'll be listening for picturesque, awkward, or misuse of the English language. I am counting on you to use appealing words this evening, words that I will want to write down. If you do not agree with my findings at the end of the meeting, you can appeal to His Lordship, John Mottram, and he will issue a final ruling. That is my report. Back to you, Toastmaster Jen Colosso.
Thank you, Donovan. Next, we have our awe counter, Chris Yang. Chris, tell us about your role.
Thank you, Jen. Greetings, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. The purpose of the awe counter is to note words and sounds that are used as a crutch or pause filler by anyone who speaks. During the meeting, I will listen for overused words, including and, well, but, so, and you know. I will also listen for filler words, filler sounds, including and I will also note when a speaker repeats a word or phrase such as I, or this means. At the end of the meeting, I will report the number of times that each speaker used these expressions. Thank you, and back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Chris. And last but not least, we have our timer and vote counter double duty role being taken by our own David Richmond. David, would you please tell us about your role this evening?
Certainly, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and distinguished guests. Tonight as vote counter, I will be, for timer, I will be timing our table topics only tonight since we have no prepared speakers, no evaluations. Our time for table topics is 1 to 2 minutes. At 1 minute, I will change my background to the green Toastmasters background. 1.5 minutes, I will change to yellow. At red, I will change, at 2 minutes, I will change to red, and you have 30 seconds of grace, beyond which there is no appeal, to wrap up your speech so that you are still eligible to be potentially best speaker this evening. I recommend you, I think you can, what do you call it? Do the thumbtack or something so that you have my screen in the event that you're called upon so you can make sure that you see the signals. As vote counter, I'll be counting the ballots for whoever's the best table topic speaker this evening. If there is a tie, I will break the tie. However, I will not vote otherwise. And again, there will be no appeal, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, David. Thank you, all the programs team. We will look forward to hearing your findings at the end of the meeting. I saw this little saying a few months ago, and in my opinion, it helps sums up a lot of times what we forget. It was on Pinterest, so Who knows where it actually came from, but it says, the first thing you should know about me is that I am not you. A lot more will make sense after that. I think that resonated with me, just in maybe we all have tendencies. I'm saying we all, like I'm assuming you all have tendencies. I have tendencies to look at things from my perspective and what I would do, where the reality is we all have different perspectives. We all come from different things. We've all had completely different life experiences. So we're not going to have the same views, especially not on every single item that's up for discussion. We're going to have different youth experiences, different home lives, different work lives, different encounters, both the good and the bad ones. We have different coping mechanisms, different everything. And we're going to care deeply about things that maybe other people don't care very much at all about, and vice versa. This can even happen even if you grew up in the same house. Your experiences versus your siblings' experiences could be wildly different. Case in point, me and my brother. He is 4 years older than me. He came out of the womb an old man. He was mature from the get-go. He followed the rules. He did what he was told. He thrived in academics. He was a great child. He was a great teen. My parents are so thrilled with him. I'm really glad, because then they got me 4 years later, and that was not the case. I came out kicking and screaming. I towed the line wherever and whenever I could. Not that education and academics weren't important to me, but I thought I needed a much more rounded education, which included maybe some parties, maybe some sports, and a whole lot of parental whatchamacallit, where they ground you. I was like, what's that word? Groundings. I should know it very well because there was very many of them. And most infamously was the one where my parents grounded me for an entire year, my senior year, and held to it to the day. I deserved it. I earned it. But we grew up under the same roof. But all of our life experiences and our personalities all played into us having two very different experiences. Neither was bad. We both feel the tremendous amount of love from our parents. We both have really great relationships with our parents as adults. But it definitely, you can see we differ on so many things. We differ not just in our personalities, but we differ politically. We differ socially. We differ in the things we really care about. Now, we try really hard because we love each other, and he's my brother, to respect each other and understand very much where the other person is coming from. We don't always understand each other, but we also know the other person deep down is real good, deep in their heart, and that we can count on that. And it helps when we're having harder discussions about bigger things in life, knowing that we do care very much about each other. And I want to understand where he's coming from. And I hope vice versa, he wants to understand where I'm coming from. If nothing else, it does help that because of that love, we're going to sit down and try to hash out differences, try to hash out understandings, and try to look at bigger pictures and understand one another. But tonight, our table topics is an important portion of the meeting because it challenges us to think on our feet. And when do we need that more than when dealing with different perspectives and discussing those perspectives? So tonight, our table topics master is Amy Gow. Amy's views that we all come to Toastmasters to become better communicators and leaders. And one of our most important skills that we can develop is impromptu speaking. Whether we're chasing our dreams, interviewing for a new job, or closing a business deal, extemporaneous speaking is an important skill to practice. So please welcome your club treasurer, Amy Gow. Amy, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jen. Perspectives. Let's talk topics. And I was looking up some various topics that we could talk about. So I decided to revert back to my school days of would you rather this or would you rather that? The fun game. For table topics, you do not have to answer the question as you would answer it. And tonight, I would hope that you maybe find a perspective other than yourself or a different persona that appeals to you and answer it from that point of view in order to practice putting our ideas or changing our views from another person's viewpoint. So the first question is that you are an alien visiting Earth. And you are watching a Toastmasters meeting. One thing I want you to think about is, would you rather do most of the talking in life or most of the listening? So if you can take on a persona as an alien, kind of describing what you see at a Toastmasters meeting, would you rather do most of the talking or most of the listening? I will ask Heidi, can you be the alien and also share a little bit about whether you do most of the talking or most of the listening?
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. Good evening, everybody. Great to see everybody. As an alien coming into a Toastmasters meeting, I would find it most appealing to do most of the listening. I'm assuming, Amy, that there is not a language barrier involved in your question, that the alien can understand English and communicate reciprocally. That being the case, I would tend to do more of the listening. That's a personality trait of myself anyway, just to get a sense of the people in the room, the different perspectives being shared, the focus of the meeting, and how can I best contribute to what's being shared among the people in the room. I personally find it's easier to spend more time listening. You learn more about people if you spend more time listening than speaking. I'm sure everybody's heard the saying that we were given 2 ears and 1 mouth and to use them in proportion. That's a rule that I try to live by on a regular basis. I also find that if you do more listening and asking questions, people will think that you are very, very interesting yourself, even if they have done 85% of the talking. They will think they have had the most amazing conversation if you simply sit and listen and ask appropriate questions. So Amy, to your question, if I were an alien sitting in a Toastmasters meeting, I would sit and listen and ask more questions than do more speaking. Back to you.
Thank you very much. Great answer, Heidi. Next, I want to talk, since we were talking about perspectives, then it got me onto this extrasensory perception, ESP. Then I thought about, would you rather know what happens in the future or be surprised by what happens in life? So would you rather know what will happen in the future or be surprised by what happens in life? A suggested persona, maybe, is you can answer that question. It's also, if you were a superhero, would you pick that trait of knowing what will happen in the future, or would you pick some other superhero power? How about Patty? So Patty, would you rather know what will happen in the future or be surprised by what will happen? And if you were a superhero, would you pick that as your superhero power or something else?
Thank you. I'm still new at this. Tell me what I'm supposed to, Mrs. Madam Toastmasters, or
I'm Table Topics Master, yes.
Table Topic Master.
Mhm.
Thank you for the opportunity to share my thoughts on what I would like. I don't want to know the future. I want to have it laid out as God had intended for me. I don't want to know, because if you remember the movie Back to the Future, where Michael J. Fox, and I don't remember his name or character in the movie, he did share with the scientist, the mad scientist, what was going to happen. So he was able to avert death, which I can appreciate and would like to know. But it is not appealing to me to know now what is going to happen in 10 years or 20 years. I'm preparing my life as best I can to have a long and healthy life and to age well, but I don't necessarily know what's going to happen to me going forward. With the superpower, gosh, that's a tough question, but I think what I would like to be able to do is just be a kind and generous and loving person to all people and recognize those in need. And I mean, I guess that's not necessarily superpower. I should be doing that now, but just knowing how to use the strengths that I have to make sure more people are benefiting. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your insights, Patty. Next question. Would you rather have an easy but boring life or a challenging but exciting life? And I wanted you to maybe adopt two personas or perspectives. Maybe one when you're a youngster, if you can think back if you were a younger person, maybe in school, maybe elementary school, what would be your answer? And now that you're older, what would your perspective be? Would you rather have an easy but boring life or a challenging but exciting life? John, would you like to participate?
Well, thank you very much for this question. This is really a difficult and tough question. I hope I'm never really faced with this in reality. I have always wanted to know more about my capabilities. One of the things in life that I'm really capable of, what are the skills that I have? What are the problems that I'm able to overcome if I come across them? Although I am very interested in that aspect of my life. So in one sense, I have always kind of gravitated towards the more unknown. And if that is what we mean by exciting life, then it's the exciting side of that question that I would come down upon. On the other hand, I'm not somebody that's going to want to climb Everest, swim the English Channel, even run a triathlon. So from that point of view, you may consider my life quite boring and the easy life that I have led. I can tell you that I've led a very blessed life, one that has not been troubled by serious illness, other significant difficulties in life. But in summary, I would say I'm always searching for the unknown and interested in how I might handle it. That's what's most appealing to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. Excellent answer. Now I want everybody to pretend that you are a social media influencer. I still haven't quite figured out what these people do, but apparently you can have a lot of friends or followers, and now it is a career of some sort. Would you rather have one best friend or a lot of casual friends? Would you rather have one best friend or a lot of casual friends? And also try to adopt the persona of an social media influencer. Sarah.
All right, thank you very much. Would I rather
have one best friend or a lot of casual friends?
As a social media influencer, I imagine that things are a little more difficult in the public eye because everybody is watching you. and everybody wants to meet the famous person, and your family friends will and relatives will be like, I'm related to, or I know Amy Gao. She is famous. She is awesome, or me, however. And it would be awesome to have a bunch of a good, it would be awesome to have a really good best friend. That would be somebody that you could get to know really well, especially when you have a lot of people in watching you, either, in public or online. And that can be really intimidating, I can imagine. And I remember I was actually watching an influencer this morning, and they were talking about how they had a lot of their friends all had social media profiles, and they would bring their friends to collaborate in with their channel. And it was interesting to see because it almost sounded like they had a bunch of casual friends and not actually a best friend. And on one hand, I can see, a bunch of casual friends, if they're in the public eye, you can communicate with them about channel things. But at the same time, you don't have anybody you can really connect to on a personal level. And I think having a best friend in this case, although I'm sure having one really good friend could have a couple of downsides, I think having one really good friend is fantastic if you're a social media influencer, because you always have somebody to kind of bring you back down to earth. And that's all I have for today. Thank you very much. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Do we have time for one more? Okay, Madam Toastmaster says we have time for one more. So this weekend I got to go to Fort Worth. I haven't been to Fort Worth in quite a long time as far as being a tourist. I've driven through it, but not really stopped and done the cultural things. And we got to go to the Modern Art Museum. And sometimes I go in there and go, is that art? And two, I go, I think I could probably paint that. But of course, you have to come up with the idea first of whatever they painted, right? Let's see. Chris, would you rather be able to write really well or to draw really well? And why?
All right. Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. Would I want to write very well or draw very well? I'll take it from one of the questions you asked earlier. I'll take it from the perspective of being very young and then now. So very young, I loved to draw. I actually wanted to go to art school after high school, but it just doesn't fly in an Asian household because, as I've mentioned before, there's only 3 professions: a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, and everything else is just a hobby. But I love to draw, and I don't know if you guys remember, but there's this carbon paper that you can put over or under a drawing, and you can trace it, and you can essentially draw really well. You can outline anything and draw it. And I remember doing that for hours and hours, and I got really, really good at perspective drawing. And so I could see something like a bottle or a tree or anything like that, and I could draw it really quick. And that helps me now in what I do. But I think now I don't draw at all. And I do a lot of reading, and I can't remember where I was going with this answer, but I really value good literature, a good book. And I didn't read a lot when I was younger, so I drew a lot, but I didn't read. Now I read a lot and I don't draw. And for that reason alone, nowadays I wish I was a better writer and back then a better drawer. And that's all I got. Back to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you very much, Chris, for sharing and giving us the two perspectives. Okay, can I have a timers report, please?
Madam Table Topics Master, all contestants qualified.
Okay, if you'll take a moment and use your chat to vote, and David Richmond is our vote counter. Please enter your votes. If you need me to remind you everybody who spoke, Heidi was the alien at the Toastmasters meeting. Patty was talking about her superhero power, but she would rather not know about the future, and that she would like to better use her own strengths. Chris talked about being an artist as a young kid, drawer, and then later on appreciating the written word as he's gotten older. John shared about having being interested in facing more of life's challenges and seeing where his talents and skills can take him and being able to overcome them. So he likes to test those boundaries. And then Sarah shared about best friends and being a social influencer. So please take a moment to vote for Heidi, Chris, John, Patty, Sarah. Did I get everybody? That? Okay. And back to you, Madam Toastmaster, sorry.
Thank you very much, Amy, and all of our Table Topics participants. When I was thinking about situations where we are talking to different people about differing views or perspectives, I got to thinking about my job. When you boil it all down with my job, I do customer service. I deal with customers day in, day out, all day long, in lots of different ways. And I feel like people just want to be heard. When I'm dealing with angry or maybe upset customers, and I teach a class on customer service, so we have this huge portion of the class that's talking about complaints. And this is why, because it comes up. No matter what you do, people are going to complain. I try to hear them out. The first thing I do is I listen. I listen to their complaints fully. I let them unload if they need to. And sometimes that's what it is. Sometimes they're really small gripes. Maybe they're slightly unfounded. Sometimes they're legit complaints that absolutely we messed up. I let them tell me everything that they feel is necessary in me understanding why they're so frustrated or why they're upset. And then I go back one by one over their complaints and I address them and I ask questions to make sure that I fully understand what they're upset about. I ask the questions that need to. I make zero assumptions. I don't want to make assumptions because y'all know the old saying about what assumptions do, what they make out of you and me. I'll ask about the issues and I apologize when needed. A lot of times the customers are dumbfounded that I sat there and listened to the whole thing, that I heard them, that I repeated back to them what they said, that I had an understanding of where their frustrations, concerns, and all of it lies. And sometimes, guys, all it is they wanted to be heard. So it made me think maybe people don't feel like they're heard a lot anymore. Because sometimes when people are so just coming at you with full force, it doesn't necessarily have to be about you. Sometimes it's just you're on the receiving end of things. And a lot of people are just relieved that I sat there and listened to them and understood what I needed to do or what they were dealing with so that I knew what I needed to do. Maybe they're not heard at work. Maybe they're not heard at home. Maybe they're not feeling heard amongst their friends, whatever it is, they're being heard by me. And as it turns out, when you sit there and listen to someone fully like that, a lot of times it's usually reciprocated. And so my point is, if we listen fully to each other, maybe we can get the same in return. And maybe we can get better understandings of, once again, all the different perspectives and where people are coming from. This leads us really right into the evaluation portion of the meeting to see how well our programs team and our general evaluator have been listening to us. So please help me welcome our general evaluator this evening, Ms. Helen Mayo. Helen, the virtual lectern is yours.
Thank you so very much. We'll start off with the program team report. And I'd like to call on Donovan, our word master grammarian, to please give a report of how we did.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. For the word of the day, I heard David use it twice, Amy use it once, Heidi used it once. Did I miss anybody? Okay. For good phrases and words, Jen, I liked political season, internet troll, coping mechanisms, boil it down, dumbfounded, reciprocated, lots of good words in there. Amy, persona, liked that. Extrasensory, those were great. Heidi, reciprocally, it's hard to say. Patty, avert as best I can. John, I like the phrase blessed life, searching for the unknown. Sarah, collaborate, personal level down to earth. And Chris, doesn't fly. So all good phrases and words this evening. I didn't hear anything that was a distinct misuse of the language, so that is great. Those are my findings. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much. And now on to our ah counter, Chris Yang.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. As Heidi mentioned, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so I should have really been on top of it tonight. But when you're tired, it really doesn't matter how many ears you have. I tried the best I could, but I think overall we just did really, really well tonight. Going down the list, Jen obviously speaking the most. All I could jot down was 1 repeated word, so she did awesome. And Sarah, 1 repeated word, and Heidi, John, Patty, they all were table topics contestants tonight, and I couldn't find a single thing. David, Donovan, Helen, and Daniel, nothing at all. So maybe slacking or or I think we just did really well. And with that, I will give it back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Chris. As to the meeting evaluation, we did start on time, which we usually do, but it's still very good that that is a pattern that we continue with. And also that people stepped up to fill roles. Obviously, I'm one of them. But Daniel, for you to go ahead and do the Sergeant at Arms thing and the invocation, there was, or rather the pledge leading us for that. And kudos to the person with the flag, because that is always good. And Jen, I really liked your theme tonight. I liked the way you wove it into different perspectives on different perspectives, which was very good. And I don't think I've been in Toastmasters, shall we say, for quite a while. And I don't remember ever having a theme like this before. And it was very good. So I give you, if I had 3 thumbs, I'd give you triple thumbs up. And that is my evaluation. And with that, I will turn it back to our Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Helen. My challenge, or dare I say appeal to y'all tonight, is to approach this upcoming election cycle with a spirit of understanding and trying to see where other people are coming from. Ask honest questions, be open and attentive. It may spark curiosity in the other person as well. And maybe, just maybe, what we all need is just to have some good open conversations every now and then to help us not just move forward, but to understand one another. Now, this is coming from an optimist at heart, but I feel we can do better by each other. And I think it all starts with us and in our local groups, our families, our friends, and our community. With that, I think I'm going to hand this back over to who's our David Richmond to do the award.
Okay, David had to step aside, so
And Daniel,
I'm
yours.
gonna fill in for him. Yeah.
All right.
So David asked me to share. We had a winner in our table topics tonight, and drum roll, please. And Heidi, step up to the stage. You are our winner tonight in table topics. Thank you so much. And man, there were some really great answers tonight. I had a hard time voting. Well, hey, we are lucky tonight. Our area director, John Motram, is here. And I just happen to know that he went through his training on Saturday, and I'm sure they picked up on a lot of good information. John, what do you have to share with Hillcrest Toastmasters tonight?
Well, thank you very much, Dan, for that introduction. Yes, I was at the training for Toastmasters on the weekend. And I wanted to share with you the message that came loud and clear from the leadership group in Toastmasters. And I thought this might be a good, as I've gone through, it's a good area to kind of give everybody an opportunity to ask questions and to maybe think about possible next steps. The number one objective for Toastmasters in District 50 for 2024-2025 is to make sure that all members and new members have the most enriching experience in Toastmasters possible. And one way that they kind of think about that is obviously to develop people's communication skills and leadership skills. And the objective is this year really focused, I would say, on developing our leadership skills. What's happened since COVID is that many of our clubs have struggled to get back to where they were pre-COVID. And one of the areas where a lot of clubs have struggled is in achieving this distinguished club status. That is the program that the district uses to measure our progress as a club. Now, let me ask this question first of all. Is Hillcrest a distinguished club currently? I mean, I know it's a distinguished club. What I meant to say is, has it achieved the distinguished club moniker provided by the District 50 leadership? You're on mute, Dan.
John, we have been very successful club in the past. Pre-COVID, we were able to meet a lot of benchmarks to make ourselves a distinguished club. And just as many clubs, we have struggled since COVID to meet some of those benchmarks for a distinguished club. I think we're going to actually do better this year with our membership goals. We seem to be pretty well on our way. And the thing we need the most, I think, is for members to give more speeches. So that'll probably help us attain distinguished level more than anything else. We did a good job on getting our officers trained this year, all but one, and or two positions, all but one person. So I think we are making some progress on that regard. And we usually seem to do a pretty good job getting our dues paid on time. So if that
yes, looking
answers.
at, I can see just by each time I come to one of your club meetings, the very experienced members you have, people who are very impressive, people who I'm absolutely certain have the leadership skills that would be needed to bring the club to this distinguished club level. Now, the first thing is you may ask, well, okay, I can understand why the district thinks being distinguished is important. They get to check off a little box. But what does it mean for us in the club? So I think what it means for each club is to think of the club as like a little train chugging its way up the mountain, getting higher and higher, and enjoying the extended view as it goes up the mountain. And it stops at little stations along the way, and people get off and people get on. But somehow that little engine always chugs up that mountain, getting further up the mountain every time. And it's in that way that it chugs up that mountain that it increases the depth of leadership and communication skills, which mean that when somebody comes as a guest to your club, they're immediately impressed and recognized by the people in the club, and they can say to themselves, wow, I'm not just here to give speeches. I see people here that can really help me develop my communication and leadership skills. These are mentors. These can be mentors to me. And I think that's what I would like each club to focus on. It's not ticking the box on a distinguished club. It's making sure that when a guest comes to the club, that guest gets that feeling that here is a group of people that can really be of help to me until we go a little further up the mountain and I might want to get off the train. So I think that's one of the things. Obviously, that also means that you're going to convert more guests into new members. And what new members mean is that you have a larger pool from which to obtain your officers and the leadership group within your club. And the quality of that leadership group in your club is once again something that guests can immediately recognize when they attend a meeting such as this. I can see it myself, and I can imagine new guests would see it also. So distinguished clubs, I think club status means, I think in summary, attracting new members by showing new members that there are mentors in the club that can help them with their communication and leadership skills. Are there any questions that people have for me? Okay.
John,
well,
thank you.
But there is maybe just one thing I would like to suggest.
Okay.
I would like to suggest that the leadership group for Hillcrest Club at their next meeting when they get together is to have a discussion about this distinguished club program. And let me know whether this is something that you feel you can sign up for or that you feel you have to pass on at this time. Because I don't want, or I would prefer to not sort of leave this in sort of limbo, as it were, but to get some kind of feedback from you. If you decide to go ahead, I'm happy to be a resource for you. If you decide you don't want to go ahead, certainly District 50 wants your feedback so that they can change the programs in such a way that can make it such that you would like to become Distinguished Club. Because if you're struggling with this issue of Distinguished Club, it's pretty obvious that many, many other clubs that are struggling as well. So please, the next time you meet, please have a discussion, and I'd be very happy to hear what you decide. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, John. Thank you for spending your Monday evening with us. We really appreciate it.
When you say
Helen.
having us meet, just a question. Do you mean the officers meet or the club as a whole? I'm not sure I understand what you mean.
Well, I think the officers, first of all, should meet. That's the leadership group.
Okay.
That's
what
the
I
leadership
thought,
group. Yeah. So I think the officers, the officers, is what I'm talking about. Next time the officers meet,
And let me say, Helen, it should be easier to do that starting with our next meeting, because we're starting back in person. So, and usually we try, John, what we try to do is do those officer meetings after our regular meeting.
Nice.
Good. And I think
you have a wonderful club, and I can see every one of your members has contributed very significantly to the success of the meeting this evening. Congratulations.
Thank you, John. Donovan, what do we have on store for 2 weeks from today now? Because I think we're taking a break, aren't we?
Yep, we're off next week for Labor Day. We will be back on the 9th. And do we have confirmation we will be?
We do not, but I'll let you know as soon as I get it. She's pretty lax on getting back to me. I've sent her an email telling her I need 4 dates in September, and I imagine we'll get them. If we don't, I'll figure something out. But we should be back at Central Market.
All right, we're planning on being in person the rest of the month of September, which would be 4 Mondays, the 9th, 16th, 23rd, and 30th. On the 9th, Pershutum will be our Toastmaster. I will be your Table Topics Master. Amy, your General Evaluator. Wordmaster Grammarian, Chris Yang. Daniel, are you speaking?
I'm going to try to speak next week. I was going to just tell you, so if you could substitute me somebody for the odd counter.
Yep. I'll find someone to serve as odd counter, and then Sarah Manas will be our vote counter and timer.
I can be the odd counter.
Oh, Helen? Okay.
There you go.
Perfect.
And I think I need to warn you, it's a different kind of speech. So it's like level 4 in engaging humor, and it's not a normal get up, speak for 7 minutes or 5 to 7. The Toastmaster is going to pick from about 12 topics. It's sort of like a mini table topics for me. So, but I've got some prep work I need to do. I need to be able to, I need to be prepared to give 12 speeches. So we'll see how that goes. This will be, I don't know what's going to happen here. It might be the worst thing I ever did, might be the best. We'll find out. All right. Thank you, Jen, for serving as our Toastmaster this evening. Do we have any business we need to bring up before we adjourn? Yeah, Amy.
Just a reminder that dues are due. Sorry, dues are due if you are due, I guess. So check your Toastmasters account. It'll tell you when your membership expires. If it's expiring at the end of September, we need to get all the dues in September, and I'll be out the last week of September. So preferably when we are meeting in person, you can either bring a check or you can go online and pay Toastmasters International directly, which is speedy and efficient, and then I will gather up the club dues later.
Okay. Yep. And I'm sure all the rest of you are too, really looking forward to meeting again back in person with everybody. I kind of put up with this Zoom stuff, and of course I'm out of town for I've been out of town for 6 weeks, so but I'm ready to get back to work and see everybody in person. So looking forward to that. Okay. Any other business we need to take care of? Anybody have anything? Okay. Well, with that, just a reminder, David had to run off. He didn't really say why, but he's gone. But we will be back in 2 weeks, virtually and in person at Central Market. I'm really looking forward to it. All right. Well, good night, everybody.
Good night.
All right.
Good night.
Okay.
Good luck, Jen.
Thank you.
All right.
Great week.
Bye.
Great Labor Day.
All right,
Okay,
y'all take
bye-bye.
care.
Bye.
Have a great week. Bye.
Bye.